Tribal Solar Accelerator Fund's 2023-2024 GAP Fund Grant Informational Webinar. A little bit of housekeeping today. This webinar is being recorded. The recording and presentation slides will be available in about 1 to 3 days on our website, which is tribalsolar.org. To reduce noise on the phone line, you will all be in listen-only mode during the presentations. However, I will give some opportunity at the end of the presentation to answer questions. If you have questions, you can type them into the chat, which should be appearing on your screen. I think it's probably in a window on the right-hand side of your screen there. If you are just calling in using your telephone, you must enter the audio pin that was in the invite to ask your question. If you've selected mic and speakers as your audio choice, please test your systems prior to asking your question. All right. Akwe, Christian Weaver, Nawisawunk, Shinnecockatuck. Hello, Christian Weaver is who I am. I am a citizen of the Shinnecock Nation. We are a tribal community located on the eastern end of Long Island in what is now called the Hamptons. And I serve as the program director for the Tribal Solar Accelerator Fund. So I currently manage all of the grant making and projects of TSAF, but actually we'll be transitioning to a different role still within GRID in the next couple of weeks. So you've got me for a couple of weeks, and it's been an honor to serve in this capacity over the past year alongside my colleagues. We also have Tungshi Claremont, who manages our fundraising for the Tribal Solar Accelerator Fund and our tribal work. We have John Teller, who is our communications officer, and then Helica Wright, who runs our leadership programs, our fellowships, our scholarships, and our internships. Today, we're going to do a couple of things. We will go over the overview of GRID alternatives and the Tribal Solar Accelerator Fund in section 1, and then in section 2, we will talk about the TSAF grant program overview, which you all are here to learn about. So over the course of today, I hope that this webinar will give you background and history on TSAF. I hope that it informs you all about the TSAF application process and considerations for tribes. And finally, we'll answer any questions about GRID and TSAF. All right, let's jump into section 1. In this section, we'll talk a little bit about GRID, our history, our mission and vision, and our national tribal program. So GRID was founded back in 2001 during the California energy crisis. It was founded by Erica Mackey and Tim Sears, who are 2 engineering professionals who were implementing large-scale renewable energy and energy efficiency projects for the private sector. The idea that drove them was simple, free, and clean electricity from the sun that should be available to everybody. Through GRID alternatives, they developed a model to make solar PV technology practical and accessible for low-income communities while providing pathways to clean energy jobs. So Erica and Tim are still co-leading our organization. Erica serves as our CEO and Tim serves as our COO. GRID completed its first single-family installation for the Cubas family of San Francisco in 2004, and in 2008, GRID was selected by the California Public Utilities Commission to serve as the statewide program manager for its groundbreaking single-family affordable solar homes incentive program, prompting an expansion across California. Today, GRID is the leading voice in low-income solar policy and the nation's largest nonprofit solar installer. We serve families throughout California, Colorado, and the Mid-Atlantic region, and tribal communities nationwide. We also are operating internationally in Nepal, in Nicaragua, and Mexico, and are actually expanding our international work as well. So we do quite a lot of work. We've got 6 regional offices in California, 1 in Colorado, and 1 in Washington, D.C. We've installed over 19,000 systems since our inception, which equates to over 86,000 kilowatts installed, and over 600 million lifetime savings dollars, which we're pretty proud about. We have prevented over $1.8 million of greenhouse gas emission tons, and trained over 47,000 participants. So that's workforce development is a really large part of the work that we do. There isn't a project that we install that doesn't have a workforce development a component along with it. So we're really big about training community members to do the installations and the operations and maintenance of those installations once they're complete. It's a really big part of our fabric of our organization. We also have a national tribal program that is based in Colorado that installs solar systems and within tribal communities across the United States. And so for the past several years, past 4 years, the tribal program and TSAF, the Tribal Solar Accelerator Fund, existed as 2 different organizations and departments. But we have decided to unify and work as one unit, which we're really excited about. So the next couple of months, you will see the Grid National Tribal Program and TSAF become one and unify, which I think will enable us to have even a greater impact in Indian country. So now I'll share a little bit about the Tribal Solar Accelerator Fund, which was founded back in 2018. In 2018, Grid launched the Tribal Solar Accelerator Fund, which is a tribally led philanthropic grant-making program to support new solar projects in tribal communities across the country. Our grants are clearly focused on building renewable energy infrastructure, particularly new solar energy projects in tribal communities that are feasible, cost-effective, and engage broad community participation. So we, all of the staff within TSAF are citizens of our tribal communities. We also have an advisory board, which consists of all indigenous energy leaders across the United States. We currently offer 3 solar grant opportunities for tribal communities and 501c3 organizations, as well as 4 leadership development programs, fellowships, scholarships, internships, and experiential learning associates. You can learn more about our grant programs and our leadership programs on our webpage, which is tribalsolar.org. Over the past 4 to 5 years, we have given out over $7.3 million to tribal communities to develop renewable energy infrastructure, and also served 65 grantees in 12 states. So we're really proud and excited about the work that we've done thus far, and we're really looking forward to expanding on that impact and working with more tribal communities across the United States to help build renewable energy infrastructure. So we look at our impacts in Indian country in 3 buckets: people, planet, and employment. So under the people bucket, we use community-based benefits, including energy sovereignty, resiliency, and energy security for tribes. Under the planet bucket, we work with tribes that are on the front lines of climate change and disproportionately impacted. We know that solar preserves land, water, and life, and are the cornerstones of cultural preservation and self-determination. And then TSAF project funding encourages and supports education and workforce development. Tribes have the opportunity to install, operate, and maintain their own energy produced by solar and benefit from other enterprises that need energy. And so we're really big on advocating for workforce development in our tribal communities surrounding our projects. And I've seen some really wonderful infrastructure that has been developed from our TSAF projects in tribal communities. So next, we'll talk a little bit about the TSAF grant program overview. So we have three priorities for our grant programs in the 2023-2024 calendar year. The first is that TSAF will provide necessary funding to support the development of new solar projects in tribal communities across the country. The second is that TSAF prioritizes the development of long-term energy plans to increase tribal energy security and resiliency. And finally, TSAF supports and encourages solar education, training, and workforce development in tribal communities. So we have, as I mentioned, three grants that we offer. The first that we offered this year is a facility and residential grant. That grant is now closed. We're no longer accepting applications for that grant, but that grant offers up to $200,000 for tribal communities, tribally led nonprofits, and tribal educational institutions to embark in a solar project in their community. The second, which is currently still open, is the TSAF Energy Plan Grant. These are grants that will fund up to $50,000 for a tribal community to develop an energy plan for the community. It does not need to be solar focused. It could be any. It can use any of the renewable energy fields that a tribal community deems necessary. This could be either for a new energy plan or to revamp an existing and outdated energy plan. That grant is open to fully subscribed. We already have received a number of applications, and so it won't be open for much longer. And the third grant, which we are here to discuss today, is our TSAF gap funding grant. This is a grant that actually opened on June 1st, and we know that tribes have a cost share funding need or a gap in funding for an existing energy project, and this grant will fund up to $250,000 for an energy project in a tribal community. It's similar to the facility and residential grant. However, this is for usually much larger projects where a tribal community has already received funding from an entity such as the Department of Energy, but have a gap in funding that needs to be filled, or a cost share line item that needs to be filled. And so that's what this gap funding grant is all about. So a look at the timeline here. The grant, as I mentioned, opened on June 1st. It will close on July 14th. So after July 14th, we will no longer accept applications for this grant. We anticipate sending out award and denial notifications by July 31st. With a grant start date of August 1st. This is a 12-month grant, so the grant end date will be July 31st of 2024, and we hope to have a report back from the grantees the following month, so August 30th of 2024 is your final report. During the grant year, we won't require formal reports during the year, just one formal report at the end of the grant year, though I will note that we do check-ins, quarterly check-ins throughout the year. These are done usually via video chat, and these are opportunities for us to check in, support you during the the process of your project, to listen to any needs or concerns that you might have, and also just to get to know your project better and your community. So now we'll jump into criteria, eligibility, submission guidelines, and required attachments, which you will also all find on our website, which is tribalsolar.org. So let me just pause there for a moment. So this grant is open to federally recognized tribes. So currently our applications are only available to federally recognized tribes. We don't currently accept applications from state recognized tribes at this current time. It is also open to tribally led nonprofits. So if you are a nonprofit with a 51% board that are tribal citizens, or an executive team that are tribal citizens, then you are eligible to apply for the grants. This grant is also open for tribal education institutions, such as a tribal college university or a BIA school. If you are that type of institution and you are looking at doing a large energy project, this application is open to you. Let's see. After the grant, if you are awarded a grant, we will send you out an award letter and also a grant agreement for you to sign. And then I've already talked about the quarterly check-ins with TSAF and the reporting to TSAF. Again, this is a gap funding grant. So we are looking for applications where the bulk of the funding is secured by another entity, and the up to $250,000 is just a fill-in for a gap that's needed in that project. So if your project only costs $250,000, this is not the grant for you. This is a gap funding grant for a larger project. And again, all of those, all the criteria can be found in our RFP, which is on our website, tribalsolar.org. Some ineligible TSAF projects are projects that are focused on casinos and or on casino property, rental property, unless all tenants are income qualified and will directly benefit from the renewable energy system. Projects that do not benefit low to moderate income tribal members. So that's an important one. So these projects must benefit a community where the majority of the community members are low to moderate income tribal members. TSAF funds may not be used for program costs that are not associated with a specific project, and staff incentives such as gift cards or personal items. So those types of things are not eligible for TSAF funds to be used in those manners. So again, if your project focuses on a gaming facility or a gaming facility property, then this project, this grant is not for you. Some frequently asked questions, and more frequently asked questions will be found on our website as well, but these are a few that we've pulled out. What types of costs are allowable? Allowable costs include compensation for the time for the team, contracting consultants or other third-party experts, cost of public meetings and other methods of soliciting community input, etc. In terms of the, oops, going back and forth here, sorry about that. All right, let's pause it. In terms of the energy plan grant that we mentioned earlier, until fully subscribed means the Tribal Energy Plan Grant Program funding will support up to 8 tribal grants at $50,000. Each application will be vetted for completeness and eligibility, but will not be scored like the other tribal solar project grant programs. The first 8 to complete and eligible applications will be funded. And we do not offer energy plan development support or other technical assistance support for the gap funding grant. That is it for my presentation. And I know we've had some other folks join the webinar, so I will open it up for comments or questions. You can drop those in the chat if you want, or I think folks can come off mute.
We don't have any questions in the questions part right now, Christian, but there was one that I answered earlier, and the question was, will the slides and the presentation be shared at a later date? Yes, they will be. They'll be located on our website, along with a link to this recorded version of the webinar.
Thanks, Sean. Again, on our website, you will find a link to the application. Oh, I'll mention this. The application is housed in a portal that we call Zengen. It's a online application process. So you will just click on the link. They'll bring you to Zengen. You will create an account, and then you will be able to apply for the grant through Zengen. This is an update from last year and the years prior where we didn't use a grants portal. This will allow you to save your account and actually use that account to apply for other grants that TSAF will have or may have now or in the future. Also, the grant agreements and any other attachments that you will need will be submitted through Zengen to make it really easy on you to submit the grant. And unlike larger government grants like the Department of Energy, where the grants may be 80 to 100 pages in length, our grants tend to be a bit simpler at only maybe 2 to 3 pages. So hopefully that will make it easier for folks to apply for this grant program. I want to give some time for any other questions that might come up. Great. Well, if you do have questions that come up, you can email us at grants@tribalsolar.org, and we're happy to answer questions about any of the 2 grants that we have, the Energy Plan Grant or the Gap Funding Grant. And more information about our work, either the grants or our fellowships, scholarships, and internships can be found at tribalsolar.org. If anyone is at the National Congress of American Indians Conference this week, 2 of our colleagues, Tungchi Claremont and Talia Martin, are there presenting today. If you see them, introduce yourself. Likewise, myself and Angelica Wright will be attending the AT&I Energy Conference in Washington State next week. So if you're there, we'd love to meet you. Please come introduce yourself, and we'd love to meet you. If there aren't any more questions, we can give you back some time in your busy day. Thank you so much for joining our webinar, and we hope that you all apply. We'll talk soon.